National Hot Dog Day, National Sunglasses Day, National Witch Hazel Day. Why is that a thing? Where did this whole thing come from? Who picks these days? Explain it to me.
Take it easy. I've got all the answers. Welcome to By the Way Today Is. Kate, you're up to something interesting today.
Are you jealous?
I don't know. Why don't you tell me what you're doing first?
I'm washing my hot air balloon.
Why are you washing your hot air balloon? First of all, I didn't know we had one, but why are you washing it?
Okay, first off, we don't have one. I have one.
Ah.
I don't know. Sometimes I just like to take it instead of the car. It's a little bit more freeing.
You mean because there's not a seatbelt in it?
Yeah. Because I can't ride in my car without my seatbelt.
That's true. And it's a good day to remind people of that because it's November 14th, which is National Seatbelt Day.
Again, what are the odds?
Eased right into that one. So let's start right out with our by the way fact.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get you going right off the start. What percentage of people do you think use seatbelts in 2021?
God, probably a very sad, low amount that makes me want to frickin' scream. I'll say...
This is two years ago, 2021.
Which is annoying because your car yells at you now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say that it's still sadly only like 60% or something like that.
No, it's actually 90.4% of people use a seatbelt.
No way. Really?
90%. But there's still
I've
1
never
out of
been
10
so-
people.
What?
1 out of 10 people still do not wear a seatbelt.
They
Or 1 out
probably
of
say
100,
something
sorry.
like, oh, I could lose my head if I got into an accident. I don't want your body slamming into me, so put your seatbelt on.
Very good reason to wear a seatbelt. It's not just for you, but it's for the other people out there. So do you remember not wearing seatbelts as a kid?
Oh, yeah.
I can definitely remember that. Just crawling around all over the car, sitting in the
Sleeping.
back window.
Oh, sleeping in the back window. Sleeping in the back window as a kid in the car, best sleep you've ever gotten until you go over a huge bump and then bam, you hit your head on that back windshield and then you go flying onto the seat. God, what good times.
Kids today will never know what that bump felt like. So yes, there was a time we didn't wear seatbelts, but that time is over for 90% of the people. Seatbelts were invented in the late 1800s by engineer George Cayley, and he used them, believe it or not, he used them on his glider.
Oh, I was hoping you were going to say hot air balloon.
Apparently there was lots of mid-air glider accidents, and he wanted to keep himself safe, so he put a seatbelt on his glider to buckle himself up.
Interesting.
Probably more so just to keep from falling, but still,
Yeah.
wise nonetheless.
Yes.
So we fast forward to 1949. The Nash brand automotive company was the first American car manufacturer to offer seatbelts as a factory option in their vehicle, the Nash Rambler. It was an option. You could buy it if you wanted it to. It wasn't standard. You could get a seatbelt. That was a selling feature.
I'm sure people were like, I don't want that restriction on me.
They were installed at the Nash factory on 40,000 cars. So Nash had a supply of 40,000 cars that had seatbelts, not like the seatbelts we have now. They're basically just the belts that buckled over. So completely different, but they were not selling. They had an influx or just a glut of cars sitting on their lots, not able to sell them. And people were willing to buy the cars. They wanted this vehicle if the Nash dealership removed the belts.
Oh,
They
what
made
did
the
I say?
dealership take the belts out.
What did I say? I don't want to be restricted. That's why when we were kids, we were willy-nilly all over in that car.
So out of those 40,000 vehicles they had, how many did they sell with seatbelts as an option?
They sold 20.
1,000.
Darn it. God, I'm bad at
1,000
guessing.
of them had seatbelts on the road in 1949. So we're going to fast forward 6 years to 1955. Ford was the next company to offer them, again, only as an option. And only 2% of Fords sold people bought with seatbelts as a safety feature.
What a wild time to be alive.
Crazy. And the big reason that a lot of people didn't want them, and back then it kind of did make sense because they really were not safe for the people wearing them because they caused a lot of injuries because they weren't safety minded really when they made them. They're basically just a restraint to keep you in the car, to keep you from becoming a projectile.
Yeah.
But that's why people back then said they didn't want it. So kind of had an argument. So then you enter C. Hunter Sheldon, and he came up with the idea of a retractable seatbelt for cars. And these were designed and created in 1958, and Saab got in on it, and they were the first car company to have seatbelts, these retractable ones, as a standard on their cars. They came with every Saab that was manufactured.
Good for you, Saab.
1958. Not even that long ago.
It feels like a long
Crazy.
time ago.
Feels like it, but it's really not. 1968 was the first time that seatbelts were required to be in cars manufactured in the United States. So every car had to have them in 1968. Where do you think the first, but you didn't have to wear them. They just had to be on the cars.
Sorry, you get pulled over. I saw you weren't wearing a seatbelt, but do you at least have one in the car? Oh, it's there. Okay, move along.
There was no laws back then, so you didn't have to, but you could wear it if you wanted to. So where do you think the first seatbelt law was put in place in 1970? And I'll tell you, it's not in the United States, it's in the world.
Oh, okay. Sweden.
Good guess. It's actually Victoria, Australia.
Darn it.
They were required for anybody in the front seat, they had to wear a seatbelt. 1970 was the first, and it was not in the United States.
Do you know how many terrible accidents there probably were where people are just flying through the windshield before somebody was like, oh, I think we need to do something about this?
And the United States did. 1980s is when they started passing laws for mandatory seatbelts.
Wasn't it like a big deal too? Weren't people like really angry about it?
They took the law to courts saying they didn't have a right to make them wear seatbelts. And other people went farther and cut the seatbelts right out of their cars out of protest. And that was in the 1980s.
Gotta love Americans.
Americans being Americans.
If I want my body to projectile out of my vehicle because I'm going too fast and I slam into something, you're not going to tell me any different.
I've got a right to be a projectile.
I've got a right to fling all over my car and hit everybody else in the vehicle with me if I get into an accident. How dare you?
You sound just like those 10% that don't wear a seatbelt. So what's the purpose of Seatbelt Day? It's simply to raise awareness for the life-saving device that 10% of the people still need to be told to use. And that's because 46,000 people die in car crashes still every year because of not wearing a seatbelt.
Wow.
So how can we observe it? Get in the car, buckle up.
It is such a habit. I don't even think about it anymore.
Yeah.
Like I can't, there's no not wearing it. I can't.
I rarely ever put it in reverse or drive before I have my seatbelt on.
It's like, just like when you're driving and all of a sudden you're like, wait, how far have I gone? I just am driving.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. Such a habit.
So like we've talked about, you're saving your life, but you could also potentially save people's lives in the other vehicle. So encourage people to wear a seatbelt. You should wear a seatbelt. And if you still have that grandfather from that was driving in the 1940s and 50s who got in about 9 car accidents from drinking and driving and didn't wear a seatbelt and survived them, remind him to wear a seatbelt.
Maybe even rolled over a couple times in the car.
I might be talking about someone specific.
Then got up and just walked to go find help. They were made a little sturdier back then, I'm going to say. That's when men were men.
And on that note, that's going to end our episode. Please make sure you wear a seatbelt today and come back tomorrow, download a new episode, and we'll be able to find out what day we can celebrate then together.
Remember to subscribe, rate, and review our show. You can download new episodes daily to hear what day we are all celebrating and how we can celebrate it. And be sure to share your favorite episode with your favorite person so you guys can celebrate together.